So, what would it really take to just start over? To build a brand new society completely from scratch? Well, today we're going to break down a really fascinating, real world plan to do exactly that. It's a plan that actually started with a single social media post and has since bloomed into this $10 million vision for a whole new way of life. All right, let's dive right in. We're going to walk through the 6 key pieces of this whole ambitious plan. We'll start with the spark of the idea, then get into the $10 million investment strategy. We'll look at what you actually get for your money, how a community like this governs itself, what's expected from everybody who joins, and then we'll finish with the ultimate vision, which is building a whole new kind of economy. So where does a plan this radical even begin? You might think it's a boardroom or some think tank, but nope. This whole thing started with just a single post on X.com that really sparked a huge conversation. So this was the spark, right? The initial idea, but it was almost immediately adapted. The project's founder saw all the potential, but he also saw a major problem. 1,000 different investors could just lead to absolute chaos. And that insight led to a really crucial pivot in how the whole thing would be funded. The first big reality check was the location. I mean, 1,000 acres on the beach for $1 million? That's just not realistic. So the plan shifted. It moved to a 315-acre farm property in El Salvador. Sure, it was a few miles from the coast, but the land was way better for farming, and the price was right, $1 million. Okay, so let's get into the financials. Let's see how this goes from a simple idea to a full-blown multi-million-dollar venture. To avoid that chaos of having 1,000 different decision makers, the plan got a major revision. Instead of lots of investors with a pretty small stake, the founder decided to go for a smaller, more committed group, 500 people, each investing $20,000. The whole theory was that a higher buy-in would attract people who were really serious about the project. Now, what's really important here is that this change didn't scale back the ambition one bit. The $10 million goal stayed exactly the same. The path to getting there just got a lot more practical, focusing on a smaller group of really invested partners. And this budget breakdown really reveals the project's true priorities. You can see only 10% of the money is actually for buying the land itself. The other 90%, a full $9 million, is all dedicated to actually building the community. We're talking roads, common areas, all the operational costs. So, you've put down your $20,000. What do you actually get? Well, it's this fascinating mix of old school and new school. You get physical land rights, but they're combined with digital ownership shares. Yeah, ownership is managed using NFTs. But wait, forget all the crypto speculation and stuff you've heard. In this context, an NFT is basically just a secure digital title. Think of it as a share of the collective property. It's actually a pretty innovative way to handle real estate, and it's already being tested out in some high-end markets. And here's the deal. Every single investor, no matter how much they put in, gets the exact same foundational piece of land. It's a quarter-acre plot. It'll come already cleared, leveled, and with a building pad all prepared. But from there, you're on your own, because the entire property is off-grid. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Your land and your power are totally decoupled. A $20,000 investment gets you one lot and one share. Simple enough. But say a couple invest $40,000, they still get that same single lot, but they have two shares. And a max investor putting in 200 grand still only gets one lot, but they receive way more voting power through bonus shares. Okay, so you have hundreds of owners, all with different levels of investment. How in the world do you make decisions without everything just falling into chaos? Well, the answer lies in a really carefully structured governance system. Let's just play this out. Let's say you have an idea. Maybe you want to build a communal swimming pool, or you think the community should start growing a new cash crop. How does that idea actually become a reality? Well, there's a formal process for that. The whole decision-making process is basically a 3-step filter. First, any owner can propose an idea. That idea then goes to a 9-person board for a review. If the board gives it the green light, then it's put to a final vote for all the shareholders. And this procurement board is designed to be a rotating group of the most engaged community members. It's got 9 members to make sure there are no tie votes, and the seats rotate every 6 months to keep things fair. And importantly, priority for board seats is given to actual residents, which ensures that decisions are being made by people with a real, daily stake in how things are going. But ultimately, when an idea comes to a vote, the outcome isn't decided by a show of hands. It's all decided by shares. It's a one share, one vote system.
So, plain and simple, those who invested more have a greater influence on a community's direction.
But this project isn't just about money. It's not just about writing a check. There's another key buy-in that's required from every single member, and that's a direct contribution of their time and their labor to the collective good. We're talking 120 hours. That's the minimum. Every single person, not just every investor, is required to put in at least that many hours of work on the collective property. This is a community built on sweat equity just as much as it's built on financial equity. Now, the system is flexible. If you're an investor who can't be there, you can hire a local worker to fulfill your labor requirement. But for anyone who's a long-term resident, or even for people who rent out their property on Airbnb, a continuous contribution of 10 hours every week is the standard. The founder is also very, very explicit about the kind of culture they're trying to build. As it says right there in the source material, the goal is to attract people who are focused on building, on farming, on homesteading. The founder explicitly discourages what they refer to as political activism, aiming for a community that, in their words, wants to leave all that behind. Okay, so let's move to the final piece here and see how all these different details, the funding, the governance, the work requirements, how they all tie into this much larger, much more profound vision. And this really gets us to the core mission of the whole project. This isn't about trying to maximize profits. It's an experiment, really, in self-sustainability. It's an attempt to build a functional, alternative economy that operates on its own terms, with its own food and its own streams of revenue. And so that leaves us with this pretty provocative question. With all this intricate planning, from NFTs to bylaws to work requirements, is it actually possible to build a self-sustaining economy? Can a community like this really carve out a new way of living? Or are the pressures of the modern world just too powerful to escape? The answer, I guess, remains to be seen.